There's a second layer inside the VA pension that opens for one reason only, that somebody has to help you get through an ordinary day. It lifts a veteran's ceiling to $2,874 a month. A new diagnosis has nothing to do with it. Your rating percentage plays no part in it either. Help. The kind a wife gives at 6 in the morning before either of them is really awake, or a daughter drives across town 3 times a week to give, or an agency bills you for at the end of every month. If somebody in your house is already doing that work, or you write a check every month so that a stranger can do it, there's a real chance you are paying for something the VA keeps a rate for. Over the next few minutes, I want to walk you through the 4 doors into this thing, in the words the VA itself puts on its own page, and the first door is wider than the other 3 put together. It is the one most veterans walk straight past because it describes an ordinary Tuesday in their house, and they never thought of it as anything worth writing down. Stay with me through that first door especially. The paper that opens it runs 1 page and costs nothing. I keep it plain here because a rule you cannot follow is a rule that costs you money. The money first, and I want to be straight with you about what this number is and what it is not. The VA sets what it calls a maximum annual pension rate, and that rate is a ceiling rather than a deposit. It pays the gap between the ceiling and what it counts as your income, which means most people who qualify draw a piece of it rather than the whole thing. Now watch what this one thing does to the ceiling. If you have a spouse and you fall short of this one thing, your ceiling is $22,839 a year. Once it becomes true of you, your ceiling is $34,488. $11,649 a year of daylight between those 2 lines. And what decides which line you are on is whether somebody had to help you this morning. The program is called Aid and Attendance. It rides on top of the pension you already have or could have, so it takes no application of its own, and the money arrives inside the pension check itself. The VA lists exactly 4 ways in, and the page puts the bar in 1 line. At least one of these must be true. 1. Not all 4 of them. Here's the first one, word for word. You need another person to help you perform daily activities like bathing, feeding, and dressing. Read that again and notice how low the bar actually sits. Helpless appears nowhere in that sentence, and the person helping you never has to be a nurse or a paid aide. A wife counts, and so does the son who drives over on Sundays. Whichever of them it is, that is what stands between the 22,000 line and the 34,000 line on your file. The word the rule leans on is help, and help is a far smaller thing than the picture most veterans carry around when they open a government page. What that door is worth to you is the $11,649 gap I just gave you. For a veteran living alone with nobody claimed as a dependent, the ceiling still climbs to $29,093 a year, which comes out to $2,424 a month. Now, who does this first door help the most? Almost everybody who walks up to it, but 2 men more than the rest. The first is the veteran whose wife has quietly become his care team over the last 4 or 5 years, and neither of them has ever said the word care out loud because that is just marriage as far as they are concerned. The second is the veteran paying an agency $600 or $700 a month for somebody to come 3 mornings a week who has been treating that bill as the cost of getting old rather than as a fact the VA keeps a rate for. Picture a 78-year-old man in a house he has owned since 1981. His wife lays his pills out in a plastic tray every Sunday night because the small print on the bottles went away on him years ago. She has been doing the buttons on his shirt when his hands are bad, which is most mornings now, and that has been going on for 6 years. Neither of them has ever mentioned any of it to anybody because to them none of that is a medical arrangement. It is just Tuesday. So how does a veteran get that written down? A doctor puts it on VA Form 21-2680, which carries the title examination for housebound status or permanent need for regular aid and attendance. Your own physician can complete it. The form asks what a man can and cannot manage on his own, and the sentences that matter are the plain ones about washing, dressing, feeding himself, and getting safely from a bed to a chair. It costs nothing. It goes in alongside the pension claim, and an accredited representative at the VFW or the DAV will sit down and work through it with you at no charge. These rates change every December. Subscribe and you will hear about it while you can still act. Door 2 belongs to a different man, and the VA words it this way: you have to stay in bed or spend a large portion of the day in bed because of illness. Everything hangs on those last 3 words because they separate a medical reality from a personal habit. If your afternoons go by lying down, whether you like it or not, that sentence is describing you, and it does not care whether the reason is a surgery that went sideways or a heart that is managing rather than mending. The men it catches are caught between things, living at home, hiring nobody, with a day that has quietly shrunk down to a bedroom and a bathroom. There is a man in his 80s who has not been down his own stairs since March. His son moved the bed into the front room so there would be a window to look at, and the daylight hours go by in it. Nobody in that family has ever filled in a VA form about any of this, because as far as they are concerned, nothing has happened to him. He is just tired now. So how does a veteran get that written down? On that same single page, carry 21-2680 to the appointment, and let your doctor describe the day as it actually runs, including how many hours go by in bed and why, because that description is the evidence. Nobody is expected to prove it with a stopwatch. Door 3 takes the least explaining. You are a patient in a nursing home due to the loss of mental or physical abilities related to a disability. If that describes where you or your wife is living right now, the door already stands open, and the cost of that facility matters twice over, because the VA also lets unreimbursed medical costs come off the income it counts against you. The page words the limit this way: you may deduct only the amount that is above 5% of your MAPR amount. And for a veteran with one dependent, that floor sits at $1,141. Everything past it comes straight off the top: facility fees, in-home aids, insurance premiums, prescriptions. This one helps the family spending down a lifetime of savings on a monthly bill from a home who assumed all along that having savings ruled them out of everything. So how does a veteran get that written down? The facility supplies a statement of what it charges and what it provides, and there is a second short form for nursing home residents, 21-0779, that the home itself completes. Door 4 is narrow but absolute. Your eyesight is limited, meaning that even with glasses or contact lenses, you have 5/200ths or less in both eyes, or your field of vision has contracted to 5 degrees or less. There is no judgment call anywhere in that one. An eye doctor either writes those numbers down or he does not, and once they are written, the door opens, regardless of how well a man manages everything else in his life. If you are living with advanced macular degeneration or advanced glaucoma, still cooking for yourself, still getting around your own house without asking anybody for anything, you have probably never once thought of yourself as a man who needed help. The numbers on that eye report think otherwise. 2 more things before we get to what to do, because this is where people trip. If none of those 4 describe you, there is a lower rung called Housebound, and the page asks one thing of you. You spend most of your time in your home because of a permanent disability. For a veteran with one dependent, that ceiling runs $26,710 a year, lower than the aid and attendance rate, and a good deal higher than the base one. The VA is explicit that the 2 of them cannot be drawn at the same time. It is one or the other, so it is worth knowing which one your day honestly describes before anything gets filed. The second thing is the objection I hear more than any other, and it arrives in 2 versions. The first man tells me his Social Security is too high for any of this. What he is doing is holding his gross income up against that ceiling, and the VA does not work that way because his medical costs come off before the comparison ever happens. The second man applied years ago, got turned down, and filed the whole idea under settled. His health has moved since then, his costs have moved since then, and nothing whatsoever stops him from filing again with the aid and attendance evidence attached this time. This video covers one rule. There are a lot more of them, and everyone works the same quiet way. I put the whole list into the Unclaimed Money Playbook for Veterans with a family guide alongside it in the same plain English I use here. It runs 65 pages without a word of legal talk in it. The link sits in the description. Watching on the TV set? Point your phone camera at the code on the screen. Now back to the numbers. Put it all together, and it looks like this. The ceiling for a veteran with one dependent runs $22,839 a year with no help needed, $26,710 if he is housebound, and $34,488 if somebody has to help him through the day. Where there is more than one dependent, another $2,984 goes on top for each additional one. And the distance between the lowest of those lines and the highest, for one man whose record never changed at all, comes down to a single page signed by a doctor. 4 things to do with this week in order. 1, read those 4 doors again and decide honestly which one describes your house or your father's house. 2, if it is the first door, write down for 7 days who helps you with what and at what time, because that list is what a doctor turns into the form. 3, ask your own physician to complete 1-2680 and carry the list with you to the appointment. 4, call the American Legion or your county veterans office and ask an accredited representative to build the claim with you, because that help is free and nobody should ever be taking a cut of your pension for paperwork the government hands out for nothing. Everything I have given you today comes off public federal pages, and it is general information rather than legal, medical, or financial advice. I have no connection to the VA or to any agency. These rates move every December, and your own file may read differently from the examples here. So confirm anything that touches your money with the VA directly or with a free accredited representative. Nobody from this channel will ever contact you, and you should never give your claim number, your bank details, or your passwords to anybody who reaches out to you first. If any of this helped, share it with somebody you know. Chances are he never heard about it either. Sonny Boone,